hydroponic.
That's extraordinary. How exciting.
You know, and in a system like that, something that will produce, 800,000 heads of lettuce a year, you're looking at somewhere, cost of equipment, about $650,000. Now you've got to build it after that. So by the time you get it all built and your construction costs and your concrete walkways, you're going to have probably somewhere around $1 million in it.
But worth it if you want to supply locally, correct?
Right, and that's a pretty good-sized, obviously over 800,000 heads of lettuce in a year. You need to have a fairly good population around you to be able to have a market for all that lettuce.
Talk about the history of hydroponics. Did it come from England and France?
Well, I think the history of it goes all the way back to Bible times in I believe the Gardens of Babylon, that they surmise that they were hydroponic back then. Did it come from France? I'm actually not sure what all the history is. I more know the history of.
I think they appeared in France and England during the 17th century, and also, I guess, the Roman Emperor Tiberius during the 1st century. Probably been around for thousands of years.
I would agree with that. Maybe in one form or another. The history in the U.S. and is more what I know. And back 30 years plus years ago, we were growing in peat moss and perlite and in beds, and it was difficult to avoid a lot of the diseases that no longer bother us. I know tobacco mosaic was one of the big problems 32 years ago when we had a greenhouse, or botrytis. Now, botrytis is still out there. You almost never hear of anyone getting tobacco mosaic in their tomato greenhouse anymore because the varieties have been bred. There are tomatoes that have been bred to resist those kind of diseases. They're greenhouse varieties that come out of Holland, and those are the greenhouse varieties that Crop King sells. You can buy inexpensive tomato seed, but if you want to make sure that your seeds are some of your least expenses and you want to make sure that you get a good seed that's going to be resistant to diseases.
Is that a GMO seed?
I'm not sure what a GMO is.
Genetically modified seed?
Oh, no, it's a hybrid.
What does that mean? I don't understand.
They take two different varieties. You wouldn't want to take the seed out of a hybrid seed. You wouldn't come up with the same kind of tomato again because they take two different varieties and mix them together, or multiple varieties, and pollinate one type of plant with another one.
It's a seed that's bred for different resistance to grow with the resistance to different diseases or to different pests, or to have specific traits that are attractive to us, as far as big fruit or a good taste, things like that. They're bred for specific purposes, making it a hybrid seed. When you grow a hybrid seed, the seeds that it produces in the fruit are not necessarily going to produce the same plant that you got the first time around, because they're not
the original seed.
Into horticultural things that we're not the experts on.
No, absolutely not.
What about bugs and bacteria and people's concern for that on a larger context, since it's organic, right?
It's not organic.
It's not?
Hydroponics is not organic. Again, because we're back to, you have to follow the rules of the OMRI standards to be considered organic. So even if you were to use completely organic nutrients, if you're using rock wool, which is the medium that majority of our growers use, rock wool is not able to be certified organic. So even though it's an inert media that we're growing in, that precludes us from being able to label it as organic.
Wow.
But there are other medias that are organic that you could use and label yourself organic. But no, just we're using synthetic fertilizers. We're using calcium nitrate and potassium nitrate and magnesium sulfate and things like that to go in and feed the plants. But that's what I was saying earlier, as far as the plant's going to utilize magnesium sulfate or potassium nitrate just like it would utilize the same elements coming from an organic source. once the plant takes it up and turns it into a tomato.
Isn't part of the fascinating nature of hydroponics that you're saving water also that would normally run off everywhere in soil? Correct me about that if I'm wrong.
Absolutely, that's true. In our NFT system, which stands for nutrient film technique, that's the method that we use for growing small leaf crops in a channel. That nutrient is in a tank that's buried underground, so it's not evaporating from there, and then it's fed through the channel. The plants take up exactly what they need, and the excess returns back to the tank, and it's constantly circulating like that. When you would water that same plant outside in the soil, a lot of the water that you put on the plant is going to, leach right down into the ground pretty quickly, and you're only going to take advantage of a small amount of it that the plants can take up, and you'll have to continually water. In a hydroponic system, the only water that you're losing is what the plants actually take up and transpire.
Can we talk a little bit about solar? Do you use any solar panels, or are you involved in any way in helping people set up a solar-enhanced hydroponics growing system?
Everybody wants to talk about solar, and it's it's another one of those things that in the future there's probably going to be some applications, but the cost of solar panels still preclude it from being an economically viable option for our main customer. Now, again, I think you have to realize our main customer is the mid-sized grower. We're not selling to the guys who are setting up 40-acre ranges or 100-acre ranges or even 20-acre ranges.
Could someone who wanted a 20 or 40-acre range, could you design for them?
They're not going to come to us. You're talking ranges where they're coming from a Dutch company. No, it's just not what we do. But when you're talking about our size of grower, who is that family farmer who's looking for that, quarter acre up to 5 acre range, that's where we fit in and where we can assist people, and that there's benefit to working with a company like us who puts packages together. When you're talking about a 40-acre project, the economies of scale, typically it doesn't make sense to go to somebody that's going to help you put that package together. You're just going to hire someone who's going to put that package together. But when it gets to our size of grower, it's just not cost-effective to try and utilize solar panels. However, everyone's like, oh, are you guys using solar? A greenhouse is solar. Like, that's the best definition of solar. We're utilizing the sun to its fullest extent to grow plants by putting it in a greenhouse. So the whole operation is a solar operation. We're not using solar panels.
A greenhouse is a solar operation. We take advantage of the sun coming, and that heats the greenhouse. We actually have to put shade cloth on in the summertime to keep from heating the greenhouses up too much. But in the winter months, on a warm, sunny day, the sun heats that greenhouse up so much that you don't have any need for your heaters to come on.
Crop King's focus is on the economic viability of small commercial farmers. Our goal is to set people up to be profitable. The idea of supplying huge urban population with food isn't what we're focused on. We're focused on supplying populations with food where the grower can make a profit in doing so. And so I think that a lot of the technologies that are coming and that are getting a lot of press are extremely efficient and very earth-friendly, but they're not necessarily economical or profitable for a grower. So they're just not going to fit into Crop King's business model until they come down to that range. And I think that that's one of the benefits that people get with utilizing a company like us, is that we're looking out for your ability to make money in this venture.
What about designing hydroponic systems for farmers that are in locations that have erratic or destructive weather patterns that might want to work with you but don't want to depend on the sun in their area many, many months of the year because of the weather? Is that something that if it were 5 acres or under, you might consider still?
As far as what?
Well, that they purchase the hydroponic systems from you, they learn how to operate them from you, but they do put solar panels because of where they are at.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, we're in this to make money, so we'll sell any of our products to anybody. if we don't think